Okay, I'd like to open the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of October 12th, 2021. And we're going to start this meeting with a continued public hearing of upstream properties, text amendment section 5.2, Stony Hill Plan Designed Overlay District, 4550 Stony Hill Road. Okay, and we have Peter.
Good evening. Do you have any correspondence that needs to be read into the record?
We need to note for the record that you submitted some changes and you will go through them this evening.
That's what I intend to do. So good evening. My name is Peter Wilson. I'm an attorney with an office here in Bethel at 275 Greenwood Avenue. I'm here tonight on behalf of Upstream Properties LLC, which is represented by Bob Gleason and Gary Michael Jr. and perhaps Rich Mancuso. I don't see him here, but maybe he'll be joining us. We had our first public hearing on this application at your last meeting, and we had a good discussion about the contents of the proposed zone text amendment. And we've taken that and done two things. First, we've submitted a revision to the proposed text amendment, and I'll go through that in one moment. And second, we asked our consultants to prepare some reports for you concerning the state of the market for apartments and retail in the general vicinity of the property. There are two different catchment areas on the reports. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
You do, Attorney Olson.
Great. Okay, so this is the revised zoning regulation. Fundamentally, what I've done is I've removed all of the provisions that were designed to have a planned district process. And what is left is a very simple zoning district. It still operates as an overlay district, but functionally what it does is it adds some additional uses that are authorized in the Route 6 zone. The reason to do it as an overlay district still is that it allows you to apply it to particular properties without changing the requirements of the underlying zone, which is where I think we got into problems over the years.
Okay.
Sorry, there was a major echo there. I'm not sure if it was me or somebody else, but
I'm going to figure that out.
Over the years where we just ended up with a regulation that has many different little pieces added to it. And so rather than changing the underlying zone, I think it's better to have the overlay district. Importantly, you have overlay districts already in the zoning regulations that you've used in the past. The Design Conservation District, DCD, is an overlay district. And so you're familiar with the process, and we're just going to essentially use that same process. The gas station on Route 58 is another example of an overlay district where you authorized additional uses in this overlay, and that allowed development of unique pieces of property. So I don't think I like the name of it so far, but the SHMUOD, Stony Hill Mixed Use Overlay District, maybe they need to change. But those are the initials for now. Requirements are the same. In order for this to be applied to a property, it has to be in the RT6 district. Land must be contiguous. Total combined acreage of 5, 140 feet of lot width and lot frontage to make sure there's no non-conforming lots that get scooped in, and it's served by sewer and water. So those are the requirements for this to apply. This is the same. The uses where you can have any commercial use permitted. The multifamily residential is the same as in the text we looked at last week, including the bonus. And the commission has the discretion to, sorry, I have a fly flying around in front of my monitor. It's a discretion to decide on the appropriate amount of commercial and the relationship between the commercial and the residential based on the circumstances of the application. The dimensional standards are the same as the underlying zone. For us, this works. There wasn't anything in the underlying zone that we needed to change in terms of setbacks or lot width. I could see a property needing to change one of those to make their development work. That could be accomplished by a text amendment to this section if needed, but we don't need to do that. And then parking requirements, as I've pushed for, are what the commission thinks are appropriate for the proposed development, whatever the standards those need to be, depending on how much commercial you have and mixed uses, et cetera. And then finally, we've retained the affordability requirements of 20% of the units at 80% of median income. So those are the changes we've made to the regulation. I think it's much, much simpler. And I think is just operates as sort of a drop-in on the regulations. How the process would work from here is that, assuming you approve this text amendment, which we're hopeful that you do, the next step would be somebody would have to apply for a map amendment to apply this to their property. In our case, we would probably make that application simultaneously with the site plan. When we're ready for our site plan, we'll do both at the same time. I can't speak as to whether other properties would follow that same path. They may want the map amendment applied first so that they don't go to the expense of preparing the site plan. But we think it's okay in our instance. So that's a summary of the changes. Next, I'd like to ask Bob Gleason to explain the reports that we submitted into the record. And Bob, I'm going to start by putting up on my screen the multifamily assets of at least 10 units or more within 3 miles of this property. So that's what's on the screen, Bob.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to continue the conversation. Our point that we were making over the last couple of meetings is that there is a tremendous need for multifamily use and rentals in the greater Bethel Danbury area, and that there really is a declining and continuing declining need for retail. What you see here is that in a 3-mile radius of 48 Stony Hill, there is a vacancy rate now of under 1%. Just to give you a point of reference on that, any bank that finances a multifamily project like this puts in a 5% vacancy rate. Any appraiser puts in a 5% vacancy rate. Presently now at the Grand 1 and Grand 2, we're at 0. So this goes back into what we've again discussed over our past couple of conversations, that there's over 2,500 apartments needed right now in the greater Danbury area to satisfy the need. That's slide number 1. Peter, can you go to the next one?
Sure.
I mean, the retail slide.
Oh, the retail side, sorry. There's a number of pages. There's 20 pages in this report.
Yep.
If you want to go and look at them, and we've submitted the whole thing into the record.
Long and short, there's no apartments out there. Here's this next one. This is the retail vacancy rate. And this is right now 11.8, almost 12%. Just to give you a frame of reference, I think 2 years ago it was like 8.5%. And this has gone up every single quarter. And I believe it will continue to do that just because of the nature of the world out there today. Anecdotally, my wife Pam went to Bed Bath & Beyond today, and she said there's nothing in the store. And I just think that the future of retail, box store, stuff like that is going to be harder and harder and harder with what's out there. And that's basically it. There's not a lot of, you can read both of the reports, but it just boils down to, we really need people to live in Bethel, to shop at the shops that we already have.
Bob, I want to go back to the multifamily assets report.
Sure.
And do you see on your screen where it says studio asking rent $999 up, 1-bedroom asking rent up, 2-bedroom asking rent up? Is that telling us that the prices for all of these types of units are accelerating up?
Yes, they are.
And is that a result of the vacancy rate, basically?
Yes, it is.
So I think what's important for the commission to keep in mind with respect to that is, if rents themselves are going up, and we're not even talking about affordability and affordable units being restricted, if the market rate on rents is going up, it's becoming more and more expensive to live here. And that's a problem for everybody, not just people who are income restricted. And so obviously the idea is to increase the vacancy rate and drive those rents down. Sorry, developers, Bob and Gary. But that's what happens is when you increase the amount of units there's more competition, the price should come down or at least stay stable. Bob, is there anything else that you want to add?
I just want to say one more point on that. I mean, at the 80% median affordability rate right now, we have Section 8 tenants that meet that criteria. So I want the commission to know that at the 80% median rate, we can handle Section 8 people. And I think that's really what the benchmark is out there.
And so just to be clear, you're talking about Section 8, that's individual
Yes.
rather than project-based Section
Yeah,
8. So the
Section
way-
8, what Section 8 will pay for a 1, 2, and 2-bedroom rental.
So if you qualify for Section 8 assistance, they will give you
Yes.
a voucher that you then can turn over to your landlord. It's
Correct.
not a project-based Section 8.
Correct.
Okay, that's all we have for tonight. I think we'd really appreciate any questions that the commission may have.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. Gleason. But we're going to go to the public first. Do we have anybody, David, online waiting to ask a question?
That does not appear to be the case, Kitty, but I'll just do an informal reminder for those who haven't participated in a Zoom meeting with us before. There's a toolbar at the bottom of the Zoom application itself that allows you to click a button to raise your hand. Lets us know that you have comment that you have to offer. You can also go into the participants toolbar and click next to your name. That'll let you raise your hand that way. But those things notwithstanding, Kitty, I'm not seeing anyone that has any comment to offer.
Okay, thank you. So then we'll go to commission members. I'd like to start with Kenny Parsons. Ken, do you have any questions or anything
Just
like
a
that?
small comment. Peter and your team, thanks for streamlining this text amendment overlay. Makes things a little bit easier and we can focus better on it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Penny Kessler?
Yeah, I agree. I just have a question. If you can go back to the vacancy rates for, I guess it was business properties?
What this is
Yeah.
all assets with retail for lease.
Say
So
that again, I'm sorry?
It's all properties with retail for lease
Okay,
located within 10 miles of the property.
okay.
So that's
the
going to be
vac-
up and down Stony Hill Road,
Right.
basically.
Okay, so just to clarify, the vacancy rate now for these rental properties is 11%, and that is up from, I'm sorry, Nancy LaBalba may have just had cataract surgery. I had mine 2 weeks ago, so I can't see anything. So that is up from, I guess, 10%.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the prior period was. Bob, do you know
Okay,
what the
all
frequency?
right, but
was?
whatever that period was. Do you have any idea, is that because businesses have closed? They have shut down? Do you have any sense of why?
Well,
That rate is going
I think, Penny, the best example is there's 5,000 square feet across the street from us in the Big Y Plaza.
Right,
That's been vacant for over 18 months. And as you know, we own the Dolan Plaza, so we've seen the ups and downs of the tenants through the pandemic. The hardest hit ones, believe it or not, were the restaurants, there's a lot of restaurants. I think that's why they were the hardest hit and all that.
right.
But in the 17 years that we've owned the Dolan Plaza, we have lost these small shops, the bookstore, the Silver Touch, things like that. And really what we're left with are service businesses, except for True Value, you know, but the rest are eateries. We even ourselves opened our own hair salon. Now, just so we could fill a space that was vacant for over 2 years in our own plaza. So, I mean, that's really the underlying story there. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
I think there's been it's not I'll say a slow motion car crash, but the rise of the internet over the last 15 years as a destination to shop for both quantity of items, quality of items, and number of selections, as well as what Amazon has done, which is put it on your doorstep in 2 days. That's exerted immense pressure on the local retail in the entire country, really.
Mhm.
So that was happening before the pandemic. And then I think people got more and more used to that during the pandemic. That just pushed it much further along.
Can I
Uh,
just add in a comment in here in this discussion? Um, Pertaining to the retail and the commercial aspect of it, I have to say that part of the reasoning going on with Dolan Plaza has to do with the landlords. You know, Dolan Plaza, I think you're belittling yourself a little bit, Bob, because you have a great amount of tenants that have been there for many, many years. Now, I don't know what the financial arrangement was that you've worked out with them, but it's very, very obvious that you are a good landlord
Well, I
because you have
appreciate-
long-term
We do have long,
tenants.
we do have long, I appreciate that, Beth, and we do have many long-term tenants and we treasure them and we've done everything we can to keep. But there's certain tenants that have not been able to keep up over the time. Obviously, we had a video store, the Silver Touch had to go. You know, we had a vitamin shop down at the end of that's gone. So any like hard goods stores have had except for the hardware store, which is the best hardware store east of the Mississippi, and is better than going to Home Depot, except for the hardware store, though, which is kind of a little mini big box in Bethel. The other little mom and pops have had a hard time. That's all I was trying to say.
Understood. Okay, thank you. I'm done. Those were just curiosity questions.
Thank you, Penny. Linda Curtis?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Rob Wallace? Is Rob here tonight?
Yep, I'm off mute. So I apologize if this had been covered because I lost audio for a little bit at the very beginning when Peter was going over the proposal. How do we know how many properties meet the criteria for location as it's spelled out here?
There are several, without identifying them specifically, I would say 4 or 5 is
On Route 6?
on Route 6, yeah. But you have to keep in mind that it is possible for adjacent properties to be assembled to meet the requirements. And so I can't tell you there are only 4 properties where this will ever be relevant.
Right. Yeah, as it is today.
Yeah.
And are those undeveloped properties or are they fully developed?
Well, the ones that I'm thinking of that meet the criteria of the zone, some are undeveloped, some have approvals but remain undeveloped or partially developed.
Right.
If I can chime in here for a brief moment, Rob, I think I had touched on this in my memorandum, which was available in the Google Drive at our previous meeting. There are in the Route 6 zone for parcels that are greater than or equal to 5 acres in size, there are only 2 that are undeveloped, like just they don't have anything on them. One of them being this parcel. There's, I think, less than a dozen in total right now that are over 5 acres or greater than or equal to roughly 5 acres in size. Of course, that doesn't consider whether or not you can conglomerate some like Peter had mentioned. And then the rest have varying degrees of development, whether they're fully developed or they could stand to have more development somewhere else on the property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this, Rob, in relation to that, remember this is only pertaining to any property that's 5 acres or more. And I would agree with Peter Olson that there's probably between 4 and 5 that are standalone at this point, without them being combined with other pieces, which for the most part would be very difficult to do because of the development that's already existing on some of these pieces.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, understood.
Can I interject a little bit here, Kitty?
Sure.
Only because several of the commission members have contacted me and we've had individual conversations about this over the last week. And one of the items that came up during the discussion had to do with going back to the commercial aspect of this and coming up with a minimum component Oh, I'm sorry, the dog's drinking water. I apologize. She always does this when I'm trying to make a serious point. Anyways, so along the lines of looking at this property as being the prototype, what we came up with was a minimum component for the square footage of the commercial aspect of it for any property over 5 acres. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I forget which one of you I was talking to in regards to this. We came up with a number of 1,600 square feet per acre. 5 acres would be the minimum. Now, that was 2 of the commission members that requested us to look at that for discussion purposes.
All right, I'll chime in, Beth, if you're okay with that. So
Yeah, that's fine.
So the discussion, this part of the public hearing started with justifying either commercial or residential. So I get that currently the market wants to fill apartments, 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. But us as planning commissioners, we have to be careful not to create a bedroom community, right? So Bethel is unique because we have downtown Bethel and we have a main street where you can go shopping. But more importantly, we have Route 6 where it has a broader commercial component. And I know the trends right now are towards residentials. Okay, I have some rentals and I have people fighting for them, right? So I get it, but that's the market right now. But us as planning, we can't plan everything for the market today. We have to consider Bethel as a whole, right? So, but I think we got past that when the conceptual drawings came in, and the application or the applicant said, or the landowner or the proposed landowner at that point said, well, we get it. So what are you guys looking for? And my vision was, when I drive down Route 6, it better look commercial to me. I understand that we need to give you the tools to be successful and give you some more density. But I think we got past that. We need a commercial component. You proposed 10,000 square feet on a 6 acre parcel, right? So we got past that, I think. Is that correct, Peter?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. Because that was the first hurdle as a commissioner for me to envision a higher density of residential, right? So we got past that. So Beth just made reference to 1,600 square feet per acre. That was kind of my thought, because when I left the public hearing last time, I said, okay, if your text amendment says we need a 10,000 square foot minimum, okay, in a 5 acre plot of land, well, what happens if it's 10? Right? Because 10,000 square feet would look really small in a 10 acre parcel, which there is a couple out there. You understand? If I said it that way, does that make sense, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay, so the text amendment, you would have, obviously, you're the author of the text amendment, so you'd have to be in favor and you'd have to scribble that in your text amendment and say, that's a great idea, and we would love for you to adopt that as my text amendment, right? So I like 5 acres. Beth, are you jumping in or no?
Yes, I am. I'm jumping in because I think Peter will agree with me. We, as a commission, we can modify his proposed zoning amendment.
But this public hearing is open on
change
his
it.
current text.
Right. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we can take his regulation and change it or add to it if we so wish.
Okay, and just help me with the mechanics of that. So they have a public hearing with a text amendment. We'd have to deny it and then modify.
No,
Go
no, we
ahead.
don't deny it.
No, the statute specifically gives you the power to approve, deny, or modify
Okay, perfect.
an
Thank you.
application for text amendment. So what I would say is, if we have our discussion here, you could close this hearing and then tweak the regulation for adoption, adding that requirement to it. Now, there is always a debate as to how much you're allowed to change something.
Gotcha.
Like if you added a use that tire recycling facilities are allowed in the R6 zone, probably goes too far. But we have a section in here already that says, the commission can determine this, and all you're going to do is add something to here, so long as at least 1,600 square feet of commercial provided per acre. We have no problem with that. Our proposal, and that's why I brought up the rendering, is these buildings will contain 10,000 square feet of commercial, and the math works out to less than that. And
Right.
if you want to add that, that's really not a problem for us at all.
Excellent.
The only caution that I would say is look down the road whether that number has to change, because that's sort of what we did for the Copper Square development, was require a certain amount of commercial, and that ended up being, the problem.
Well, but it was a lot
minimum
more
commercial.
commercial.
It was
But
a lot
also-
more. Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
time
100
out.
to me is fairly minimal and shouldn't present a problem.
Okay, but time out also, Peter, in regards to Copper Square, that was a part of a subdivision,
Yeah,
So I think that there's certain aspects pertaining to this type of development that we're also going to be looking at down the road for in the future.
Yeah, I
And
think-
part of that will be instead of doing subdivision, including an open space component. And please don't have your applicant freak out about this, because it is already understood that this subdivision has taken place, and we have received a beautiful piece of
Yep.
open space in regards to this.
yep.
Right,
Plus
so
that
open space
beautiful
wouldn't
pocket park.
pertain.
Where's the
yeah,
open space?
The field in the back of Copper
in the
Square.
field, Yeah,
Oh, for Copper Square. Oh, right.
yeah. Well, no, but Kitty, but the overall project,
Right.
when we approved it, we
Oh,
we
right,
looked at the whole project and
Oh,
said,
right.
because there was a subdivision component, that the 10% open space came in, and the Rubino family was very generous, and they gave
Oh,
us
yeah.
something
Oh,
that had
I
road
remember.
access. Yeah, exactly.
I know,
Okay,
we
good.
have a beautiful field back there now. Yes, I know.
All right, so
yeah,
going with the theme of being able to modify your text amendment, Beth promised me she was gonna bring a red Sharpie. So the next thing I want to talk about is the bonus. Could we get into the bonus part of it and really just start chewing on that part?
Hmm.
Sure,
Peter?
Yeah, got it.
there's two aspects to it, I guess. The first is as a matter of base density, a matter of density. The base density is 20 units per acre. Right, that's fairly straightforward, rounded up. And in our case, that's 20 times 6.2 acres, right?
Thank you.
Then in addition to that, there's a density bonus allowed of an additional 5 units an acre, again, rounded up. However, in order to attain that density bonus, half of the units have to be affordable.
Half of the bonus units?
Half of the bonus units
Oh, right.
have to be affordable. So in our case, the bonus units works out to, we're only proposing 12 bonus units. We're not taking advantage of the full 30 that the bonus would provide, but we're proposing
13, Peter.
13.
137. Yeah,
Sorry, I thought it was 125 plus 12.
13.
Well, it's either 125 plus 12 or 124 plus 13, whatever the number is. And so of that, half have to be affordable instead of just 20% affordable, which is what the base density requires. Now, the important part of what we've proposed is that these are affordable at 80% of the area median income, and that's two important pieces. The 80% helps us with rental values, and the area median income instead of the state median income adjusted by about $12,000, which is very useful for us.
We get higher rent. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that's the whole point, is to not lose money. So that's how the density bonus works.
Okay, so can we stay there, because that's where we are? Tell me how you came up with 5 per acre that would have been 30, but you're only going to use 13 or 14. Where did you come up with that math? I know this is your text amendment and it fits a particular piece of property, but why did you shoot for the moon, but you didn't need it all?
So short answer, it's a question of draftsmanship. We think that what works for us is 137 units. And so I had to back into that to figure that out. the real issue is I don't like to write regulations that have weird numbers in them.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, if I made it too specific to us, then we walk into what is the spot zoning question. And so what I could say is what you need to provide is 22.3 units per acre.
Good,
Right.
got it. Yeah,
And so the numbers just are whole numbers that are at reasonable increments. So 20 plus 5.
gotcha.
Again, the number that works for us is 137. It's possible to go above that, but it becomes a much more dense project. That's the number that seems to work for, not overburdening the property and not underburdening the property.
Gotcha. All right, so so as a commissioner, I want to, I remember you came in and you gave us some conceptual drawings and we gave you our feelings and we said we want Route 6 to look commercial and we all agreed that you needed the tools to be successful, and there's the beautiful building that everybody fell in love with for a little while last public hearing. Well, I mean, that's fair, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like that public hearing went sideways really quick, and I was concerned, and this is where my comment's going to come from. So when you guys came to us and said, geez, we really want to buy this property and we want to do something, and would you approve this? We said, absolutely not. We can't, we need to think about it. I personally thought that originally you had 60 units coming into this approved project, right? And I knew 60 was not enough. But Peter, attorney, excuse me, I should use that term, I'm sorry. I didn't know what was the perfect fit for that property. So I've been struggling for the last couple of weeks, driving by and trying to visualize what would fit. So I know 60 is not enough, right? But I'm not sure 140 is the right number. I know if I was the applicant or the landowner, I would want 160 because it's more profitable. But as a town, I'm not sure what that number is. So I know that you need more than 10 per acre. I know that we don't want to do a TOD out in Route 6 and have 30 per acre. So I kind of think the 20 fits, but I'm really struggling with the extra bonus of the 5. And I know you're only going to use 13, but I think we're close if we got rid of the bonus component. That being said, I know the oxygen just left Gary Michael's room, but after I said that, what do you guys think?
Well, let me ask Bob to chime in as to their thinking as to why 137 is the number that works.
John, it's a simple matter of economics and what will work, meaning, when we sat down with Malone McBroom and having had both built the Grand 1 and the Grand 2 in the Dolan Plaza, parking is really what our main concern is. You want to have enough parking for people to, have them be able to live there comfortably. This layout, I mean, we could have had, based on Peter's, whole roundup figure, 159 units. What works there, according to Malone and Brew and their traffic studies, what you see. Now, I know you want to say that the commercial component, well, that is, as we've said many times, a financial burden on this project. Many banks won't even want to finance that part of it. Well, say, can you cut that out? So what we're at is, and I think that our track record is stellar, not good, but stellar, that we do everything right. And we are not overbuilding that property. We are maximizing what will look good and feel good and help us get through that. I have to add one more caveat here. This is the Wall Street Journal last weekend. Lumber prices just went up 40% again. So prices are at least 20% up to build something like this, John, at least. And we were hoping.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but we can't plan based on construction costs.
But you asked me.
But we shouldn't even talk about that because it's not fair.
We shouldn't.
Well, you're asking me to justify the number between 120 and 137, correct?
Well, necessarily not financially, but for the better of Bethel, what works for, what works for the whole area, not just
Well, for the,
profits. Is that fair?
well, I have to say, I'm worried about, it has to be a financially feasible project.
You have to be successful. I got it.
Yes, and when you're building 10,000 square feet of what I consider unneeded commercial space right now, which, a bank on our initial inquiries have said, we're not going to even count any rent for that. So the way I'm justifying we'll pay for the commercial space with a couple more apartments. I also got to say, I don't think 30 units per acre is too much. I don't think it looks burdensome in downtown Bethel. I don't think it looks too much at all. And you have that corridor is made for people to live there. So we're not building skyscrapers. We're not packing people one on top of each other. I think it's a very beautiful plan that fits perfectly. And on our initial discussion, we didn't know, John, when we first sat down with you in June, what the number was. But we knew we needed 2 commercial buildings. We needed that pocket park in the bottom right of the screen. And then that's the view. We were making that beautiful commercial green space corridor. That's what was asked for. And that's what we gave. And the feedback I took away clearly from that night was, I'm not concerned. I think you even said this yourself. I'm not concerned about the density so much. I'm concerned about the commercial aspect, keeping what we voted for and making it look good. And I 1,000% contend that this looks good. It's not overzealous and it's the right plan.
And Bob, you're absolutely right. I probably said something close to that.
Yeah.
But because I said I'm not worried about density, because remember, parking requirements and the commercial component would dictate how much residential unit fits on a parcel, right? So I might have said I'm not worried about density of units, but what was going to control that was maybe a vision of more commercial than 10,000, right? So the parking would have controlled that number a little bit. Is that fair?
I think that when we first talked to you, the parking always controls that number. The parking as a landlord is key. And you want people to be happy. You want your retail tenants to be happy. And we had many tenants come, neighbors on the Grand 1 and 2 say, there's not enough parking. There's not enough parking. There's not enough parking. We have plenty of parking. Absolutely. Never had one problem parking anybody there. Plenty of parking. So to take less units out, the only reason to take units off, John, would be that you couldn't park them. We clearly can park these. And if you can do that, isn't the goal to bring more people to live in Bethel, to shop at the shop, to broaden the town, to have more residents?
No.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Kitty, I heard you say no, but I certainly agree with that. And that's the only thing that's going to make Bethel survive. I get that part, but and there's plenty of other commissioners. And as soon as somebody wants to jump in, by all means, just tell me, just to mute me. Okay. But Bob, I heard you say that your parking calculations, did you have an engineer look at it? I heard you say 1.7 per unit.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you shaved it off. Instead of 2, rounding up to 2, you brought it down to 1.7 to get a couple of parking spots. Is that correct?
No, we used our personal experience of what we have in Grand 1 and Grand 2, but more than that, we hired Malone and McBroom, one of the best planners in the state, and their traffic people, and they designed these exact things all over the state, and they said that's the sweet spot number. And then,
no, I got it, but it's not our regulations.
Well, this whole piece of property is not it. We're trying to change the regulations.
Yeah, the parking is not per your regulations,
right?
But it is even a little above where the state legislature has pegged parking, which is 1 space for a 1-bedroom unit. Yeah, and it goes up from there.
Okay, but now let's remember, we have density downtown in 30. This property would certainly never handle 30 units per acre, because remember, we bought into that the TOD has the train tracks going by, it has Route 53, all Stony Hill has is Route 6 to get to 84. So people are going to own cars out there and they're going to commute to work from there.
Correct. There's no overflow on Route 6. Nobody's going to be parking.
Who did a study for that?
For what?
Did Milona McBroom tell you that there's no traffic problem on Route 6?
No, that's not what I said.
No, it's
Oh,
I
I'm
not.
said
sorry.
there's no
I thought-
overflow parking.
Oh, okay.
Nobody's going to be parking on the street in front of the development.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
Absolutely right.
In the bike lane, right.
Yeah.
That's my, I think we're really, really close. Now, Bob or Gary, whoever wants to jump in on this one. So when you came to us in June and said, I need more density or we're not buying this, right? And I know we're talking about your application, but this overlay is for all the better Bethel, but I'm asking you a personal question. Did you say, boy, them commissioners better give me more than double the current density? Was that in your head that had to happen? When you went to the closing, did you say, boy, I hope they're right? No, I mean, that's a fair question.
Yeah. I certainly said, I certainly thought that we'd have to double the density at least, yes. And I knew what could fit on that property, we could do that. And I thought that when we all had that informal talk back in June, well, what do we want to protect here? We want to protect Route 6 corridor. We want to keep the commercial component, we came back and we did that. And then these three buildings are hidden in the back of the property. They're not up on the street. It really, and I have to say this, John, this on the top left-hand corner, that's a 3-story building next to the pond. And then the 4-story, and then those are hidden. And so we didn't even try to maximize that. I just think that what laid out, and that's what we have. And I don't see the reason of chopping off 10 units or 12 units just to chop off 10 or 12 units. I mean, I just don't get it.
Okay. So I think we're really, I'm excited for Route 6 and I'm excited for Bethel. I think we're really, really close. We're something that I could support. Hopefully my questions or our back and forth got other commissioners to have a question, and I'm going to shut up for a minute and we'll go from there.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gary.
Could we, Rob Stoll hasn't had a chance yet. Rob, would you have anything to say?
Back just for a second.
Please.
Maybe I misheard, but we're talking about 10,000 square feet for the commercial. But somewhere along the line, I heard the figure 16,000 thrown out.
No, 1,600.
And if I
It's
misheard, I
1,600 square,
apologize.
I'm sorry, Rob, it's 1,600 square feet per acre for
Okay,
commercial.
Minimum.
Yes.
okay, I got that. Okay, thank you. And nope, I'm good. I actually appreciate John's comments.
Does anybody have, any other commissioners want to come back with anything? Hearing none? Okay. My
Yeah,
turn.
so I want to answer to Rob. Rob, where I came up with the 1,600 per acre is the applicant came in with a text amendment that we're considering adopting, right? So that would be an overlay district. My problem, because it said a minimum of 10,000 square feet for retail. My concern was if we had a much larger parcel, that an application could come in, and as long as they hit the 10,000 square feet, I think that would be a problem. I think that if it had longer road frontage, it needed to have the vision of a commercial, so you needed to add to that, right? So this application, believe it or not, or this conceptual site plan they would be able to lose 400 square feet, and the math only comes out to 9,600 square feet. They'd have to propose on a site plan for the road frontage. But somebody else, if you had 10 acres, that would come out to 16,000. So, and I think in scale, it kind of fits to what my vision is, not everybody's, but what I always envision on Route 6. That's where I came up with that number.
No, I get it. I get it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I have a couple of questions, and just to clear something up for me, please. When you were talking about affordable housing, you said 80%. What happened to this? Normally, now I'm on the commission quite a while. Normally I hear 80%, and then I hear 60%. Why am I only hearing 80%? And why are we doing, and I've never heard this before. Maybe I missed something in my 28 years on this commission, but I have never heard of not using the state median income.
So let me start with 830G, everybody's
Right.
favorite state statute.
My favorite statute in the whole world.
Yeah, the an affordable housing development is the defined term.
Right.
And there's one kind of that development, which is called a set-aside development. And in a set-aside development, 30% of the units have to be set aside as affordable. Of that 30%, half have to be affordable to people who make 80% of the median income, and I'll get back to that in a second, and half for people who make 60% of the median income.
Right.
The median income is defined as the lower of the state or the area median income. So there's a state median income, which is about $96,000,
Right.
and an area median income, which is about $108,000.
Mhm.
So when you do an affordable housing application in Bethel under 830G, it always works out that it's the state median income that applies.
Exactly.
However, when the state is counting the number of units that you have that are affordable, whether that's towards your 10% to gain exemption from the Affordable Housing Appeals Act, or to earn a moratorium, it doesn't require that exact ratio of units be applied. All you need to have are units that are either 80 or 60, either area or state.
Mhm.
So from a developer perspective, anything that makes more money is better.
Well,
And
of
if we can use the area median income,
Mhm.
that means higher rents, but it also means that the units that are provided still count towards those two things, moratorium and 10%. Whether we use the area or the state median income, whether we use 80 or 60, they all count. So in your zoning regulations right now, in the DCD, for example, it provides that 20% of the units have to be affordable to people making 80% of the area median income. And that's the same thing that applies in the TOD. Yeah, and so for example, at the Grand 1 and the Grand 2, there are affordable units that people who make, I think there's 5 in each building.
Right.
For people who make 80% of the area median income, and that counts towards your statistics.
Yes, I thought with something larger, you'd go to the other one. You go to.
Well, the reality is,
rent is rent.
Rent is rent. An 80% unit right now in current market conditions is a hit of about $300 a month from fair market rent to that number. And the 60% is, a big loss. It's $500 or $600 a month.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely.
So that's why we push towards those 80%, why we proposed it that way.
Right, okay.
Your Route 6 district has a split of units, 60 and 80. And we've gone away from that with what our proposal is.
Okay. Do me a favor, either you, Peter, or David, put up the maps. I have a little dilemma with the maps, the plans you sent.
This one?
Yes. Or no, well, see, this shows me said, put up the second page. Okay. Now this, if you look at this one and you look at the one previously, there's an enormous difference here. I mean, here, if you look at this, look at all that green area in the back of the second one. That does not exist in reality with the first one.
I understand. That's a
what you
rendering.
see there is other people's property.
Yeah, that's the renderer. They don't render
Right.
sites.
And honestly and truthfully, and I don't mean to be rude, but Bob, to say that the buildings are hidden, you're looking at 4-story buildings. I'm on Route 6 3-4 times a week. A 4-story building is not going to be hidden, because when I go by and the Carper Square, I mean, they're in my face. So these 4-story buildings are also going to be very visible.
Well,
But
there's nothing in front
one
of
other
it.
question, please, before I finish.
Yeah.
If you look to the far left of this, is that not RMS property where the pond is and that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'm going back, and excuse me, as I said, 28 years. I'm going back to one of my former most loved commissioners in the world, and that was Dick Shannon. And Dick Shannon had a thing for Route 6 and looking for some green space, for some family space. And the difference in the map blew my mind because of all of that green back there, and the little park. Where would these extra units be? Would the floors have to go up on the 3 back buildings or the 2 front buildings for these extra 12 units? Where would they go?
They're included in what you see.
Oh, they're already there.
Yes, they're already
So if we
there.
wanted, actually, if we wanted 120 units without this extra bonus, there could be less.
That's, yes, the buildings would be smaller.
Okay,
Well, I don't know if the buildings would be smaller. They could be larger units.
Right, could be. Okay, so, hold on, check it. I'm sorry. I'm a note taker. I'm going over things here.
Kitty, I just want to go
Please,
back to your question or your point on green space.
please.
What we've proposed, I don't know exactly where the property line is here. It's somewhere between the pond and the buildings.
Now, I'm pretty sure the pond is on RMS.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is too, but I don't know how much of the green space is.
Okay,
But then what we proposed is this
it's a
pocket
little
park.
tiny park. I saw that.
Yeah, it's not tiny. It's a
I
decent
walked
size.
it. I was over there. Yes.
Yeah, this is.
Well, I mean, for 120 units, I'm thinking of children, and I'm thinking of Dick, and that's all Dick ever talked about. You have to give children a place to play. But and honestly, truthfully, without being emotional, I think 120 units is a fair number of units, and that's
Why do you say that?
because I think I like the 20 per acre. The bonus, if you have it someplace else, that bonus could turn into a lot more units. You're only taking 12, but if you apply the same overlay to another place, it could be a lot more units, couldn't it?
It could be, but it gets, and this is one of the problems we've been having in the TOD, is it gets difficult to fit in on the infrastructure.
Yeah, well,
that's necessary to support that number of units. I mean, that's ending up being a very.
Well, I do realize now also too, when you talk about people not shopping, going to Bed Bath and Beyond, I go there a lot. And quite frankly, I think when COVID is over, a lot of this is going to change. I don't think everybody is ecstatic at using Amazon. And I think having not our vision originally, come on, we're never going to see the original vision we had because it's not going to happen. But some places where people can physically go to the store, I think is a good thing. So at any rate, that's all I have to say. Does anybody else have anything to add, Beth or David or John? Anybody?
Oh, I always do.
Well, can I speak a little bit and then,
Sure, please.
or did John want to say something? I'm sorry,
No,
John.
go ahead, Beth. But I won't let us continue this until I'm done.
Yeah, I mean,
We know.
just listening to everybody and thinking about the affordable component and the bonus and things of that nature. I do have to say, and I think I said at the last hearing, that when we incorporated that affordable housing component into the Route 6 regs, we didn't take into consideration that at that point it was 10 units per acre, okay? So looking at it from what you're familiar with from a TOD perspective, I do believe that if you were to do something with the affordable component, that the Route 6 area overall, putting this project aside, should have a density increase.
Yes.
And I do think that looking at the other properties in relation to this that are larger in nature, I do think that a baseline for that is 20 is a good number. Again, because we did the same with the commercial, I'm going to the 20. Excuse me. As the way the regulation reads now, you're talking, you have to have 10 at 80% and 10 at 60% of the state median income. Again, looking at, we're having a conversation, and please remember that. I know that there was some talk with one other commission member that maybe we compromise that out eliminate the density bonus and just stay with the 80% of the area median income.
Mhm. Oh.
Because I think there is justification to a degree of doing, when they were talking about in the regulation of doing a density bonus. If someone is going to be doing a density bonus, that is truly where I would want all the 60% to come from.
Mhm. Okay, that makes sense.
So I think it's, you know, again, it's just that comfort level with the 80%. It's just food for thought. That's trying to listen to both sides of the discussion and
Right.
coming up with a possible solution.
Excellent.
Hey,
I
John,
just put that out there.
Go ahead, but Ken?
Go ahead, Ken.
Beth brought up an interesting point about the 60% there.
Yeah.
I was curious, are you more inclined to a numerical thing here, or is it more of a visual thing on the size?
It's more of a visual on the side. I know we're not going to lose a story, but I think it's just density, right? It's just more asphalt. It's just more parking spots, you know. But Kenny, thank you. My next question was going to be visually. Peter, throw up another the renderings, not that one, a street view, right? So if Kenny, this is where I would, not that one, get rid of, well, I love the commercial. You can keep that on the side, but go in the back where you got your 4 stories. My question is, so I think everybody's falling in love with 120 because it's 20 per acre, right? Or
Just to be clear, 20 by 6.2 is 125.
Right.
all right, that's okay.
Exactly right, thank you.
We used to round down, but I got it. You're rounding up.
It's not even rounding, that's just multiplication.
That's
That's
math.
what it
More
comes
than
out
6
to.
acres.
I got that part.
Peter's
So-
correct.
Yeah, but visually tell me, so the end of a building, if you lost 4 units on those 3 buildings, well, it wouldn't even be that much because there's some residential on the front, but what is a unit width? It's 20 feet, right?
Well, Bob, let me ask Bob Gleason this question. Bob, how many units per floor in this building here? In this building here?
So that's 35 units, so it's 9 units a floor. So you would lose a floor there.
Well, no, a floor or because
Aside.
I'm sorry. I'm okay with the 4 stories, but I would love to see a shorter building. Okay, that Kenny, to your question, visually, that would make it narrower and it would just be a little more space in between the buildings. So are the unit widths 20 feet? So we'd lose 20 feet on a building if we took all the units out of one building?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, John.
Okay.
I'm assuming an apartment's got to be 20 feet wide, right? With a hallway in the center.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put it this way. There's 4 units over each of these retail buildings. Okay, 4 one-bedroom units in the front. So, I mean, they're all about just under 1,000 square feet. So if you took off the end of each of these units is a 2-bedroom plus a 2-bedroom unit. So that's 1, 2, 3. You take off 12 units, you know, if you take, 3 times. Here, if you took off 1, you take 6 units off the end. If you took off, 1 whole row of units.
Right. So let's just say one building would be 20 feet shorter in width.
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, give or take. I mean, 18, whatever it is. So I'm just trying to visually figure, if we said, geez, we like the 120, what does that do? Does it really give a big impact on, the visual look? And so if you took that 20 feet, but then you moved the 3 buildings around, it's really not a lot of land that you would save or increase, right? Green space. Yeah.
Bobby, can I jump in?
Sure.
Rich Mancuso. So as Bobby said, there's 8 units over the retail building.
Right.
I think, out of the 13 bonus units, 8 of them are there. So I think if we're going to lose units, we'd lose the ones over the retail first because they won't be valued as the same in the other buildings.
Yeah, but you can't lose the footprint because of the
Yeah,
10,000 square foot. So you wouldn't lose those residential units.
No, you would lose the upper floor.
Well, then you're losing the mixed use concept.
Right. You
Right.
can't do that. That's it. They wouldn't come from there. They'd come from somewhere else. They'd have to.
I mean, those units will not carry the value of the other units as far as rentals. In general, just living up over retail in a walk up scenario.
So
Okay,
this is,
so then we go back to, excuse me 1 second, John. So then we go back to, we're trying to develop a regulation, correct? We're trying to develop this overlay zone based on a conceptual plan. Correct?
Mhm.
You all like this plan, but at the same time, as much as you like it, we have to try to work with the regulations to make it work for the other larger properties.
right.
Yep, absolutely true.
Exactly.
Is it, pardon my ignorance, but is there a height maximum or number of stories maximum for the zone right now? And what
4
is it?
stories.
It is
Yeah.
4 stories. Okay. Yeah.
It is 4 stories or 50 feet.
Right.
That height was based on a Route 6 study that was done many years ago, and the regulations as they presently stand.
Got it.
So that's been around for a long time.
So Beth, here's my other idea after I chewed on it all day, anticipating of 7 o'clock meeting tonight. What if the bonus, okay? Now, listen, I'm all for, and I understand if you build an apartment and you only get 60% of the rent, it's a loser, right? But what about if the bonus units had the 60% ratio in it on the affordable
Not
part?
the 80.
That they,
Just the bonus of 5 per acre.
I think we'd be fine with that.
I mean,
So what we're talking about is we would be looking for 12 or 13 bonus units. 6 of
and half
them,
of them would be at 80.
6
and
or
the-
7, 6 or
No,
7 would
yeah.
have to be.
wait.
affordable.
Let Peter talk, please.
Yep.
So 12 or 13 bonus units, 6 or 7 would have to be affordable. And then from there,
Half and half.
half and
No.
half, 60 and 80.
No,
No, they'd have to be.
I would say they'd have to be 60
Yeah, they have to, all of them would have to.
Oh,
The bonus
yeah.
would have to be at 60.
because your first round, you're only getting 80.
Right.
Yeah, because
We're
remember,
doing
you're losing
20
the
at
60
80.
part. Yeah, but remember, you're losing the 60 part on the current regulation. If
Right.
we're okay with 80%.
But
But
that's
that's
the
all-
bonus, that's the give back to not have the bonus units.
Absolutely.
We go with the 80% of the area median income at 20 units per acre. And eliminate the bonus.
Or if you want the bonus, they got to be at 60%.
All
If
of
the
them,
commission can stomach that.
All of them?
all of them.
All of them. But-
I think that works for us. I think the math for us would be 125 is the base calculation. And then we need 12 more, 6 of them at 60% of the area median income.
This is just my idea today, but if the commission wants to embrace affordable housing and we believe in it, then we're achieving that by negotiating something that works for everybody.
Mhm.
I
I
still
think-
need time to think about that.
I think that-
Absolutely.
I think
I
that
as
works
well,
for us. I
Yeah.
think that works for us.
Okay. All right.
But Beth, the only reason, that's why I asked visually what the 12 units do
Yeah, they would be.
to a site plan that we're looking on the shared screen right now.
Right.
What I'm getting at is if you took 12 out of there, and I don't care if the affordable or walk-ups on the above commercial, they're still affordable in my eyes. But if you took 12 out, I don't think, if they had a rendering of minus 12, I don't know that it would look that different.
Oh, I agree. I agree totally with you.
Yeah,
John,
yeah.
I think I made this clear. It's a beautiful plan. I absolutely like it, but I have to take into consideration the other properties and how this will affect them. So I have to go
Absolutely.
back and
Overlay,
do this
correct.
calculation so you understand how it affects the rest of Route 6.
It's taking Route 6 as a whole. Exactly. So we're not having one idea here and another idea for the next piece of property. This is going to be consistent.
And one thing that the commission has to understand, some of you haven't been exposed to this, it was very easy to say, okay, we'll get rid of the residential over the commercial, but in the same token, all the affordable units will not be located above the commercial. They will be split among the units, and the applicant is aware of that. He did that over at the Grand and Grand 2. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, right now you'd be talking about 30 affordable units if what we're discussing, mixed interspersed between the 80s and the 60s, spaced throughout the whole area.
Correct.
Exactly.
But Bob, Beth is right. Everybody's in agreement that the affordable, those 30 units would be divided by 5 structures.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, they would. Yeah, and we have no problem doing that. And that's what we did. I mean, of course. I mean,
They did it at the Grand 2.
Also, John, that's economics. You just don't build a building and load it all with affordable units. You need to space it out to cash flow each building so that it works.
But in the spirit of affordable housing, they're not supposed to be singled out or look different. They're supposed to be sprinkled within.
Correct. Yes, it will be spread evenly.
The only thing I'd comment is what we've done at the Grand, and I think this works pretty well, is that you don't designate the units.
Correct.
And so the reason you do that is when somebody moves out, it takes time to spruce it up, replace the carpet, paint the walls, get it rented. And in the meantime, you don't want the percentage of units that you're providing to fall below the threshold. So you rent another vacant unit to somebody as an affordable unit. And they move around, but yeah, they have to be spread out among the buildings.
Oh, is that really the industry that's how they do it, to always maintain that ratio? Yeah. Okay.
I've seen it both ways, and I don't like the designated unit way. For that.
Designated units are bad.
I agree with Peter.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I never thought that would be floating like that, but I think that's wonderful.
So we would say you need 8 in each of the large buildings, or maybe more than that, but so that you've got a certain number in the building.
Not like that.
But they're not all sitting together. That's the
correct.
No.
They can't be sitting
That's the
together.
best.
Yeah. We don't create slums, basically.
Okay.
But all of the ideas or the back and forth, I really feel I personally have to absorb it. I know we're going to continue this public hearing, Kitty.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's other commissioners that obviously want to weigh in, but.
Yeah, I spoke to Bob and Pat today, and they're very anxious to become part of this as well.
And I will take a shot at dropping those 2 revisions into the regulation and resubmitting.
Thank you, Peter.
Next for your review.
But I want to be fair to say that I still think, so during the last 2 weeks, I thought about TOD as transient oriented, right? And it's the 35-year-old guy that gets on the train and goes to work. And then when he falls in love with his neighbor, they get married and they move to Stony Hill and they start having children, meaning they have a 1-bedroom apartment, right? This invites single moms with children that put strains on our town services. So that was part of my density.
Oh, yeah.
Strangely, we all thought that about the Grand 1. And Bob, what's the average age of your Grand 1 resident?
Oh, I'd say it was much older, but this is going to be different.
This will be different.
This tends to be, you just look at it, this can tend to be more family oriented. Whereas the Grand, looks beautiful. And I tell you, somebody like myself and my husband, that would want to be one of the first places I would look is the Grand.
But the Grand is more of a senior frat house.
Exactly. And of course, all the services are right there.
When we were talking about it originally.
It's a beautiful
so Bob, go ahead with your answer.
You're
What's
right.
the average?
The Grand 1, the first one was built definitely skewed older, but the Grand 2 now it has the mix of everything. I mean, there's really a shortage of single family houses over there. So we have many people that have sold their home and moved into the Grand too.
Oh, sure.
I mean, John Richmond, he moved in there. So I would say the age has dropped. And do we have some children? Yes, I think it makes a nicer mix, but it's certainly not a Hallmark movie, John, with 36-year-old people walking around, hoping they get married. That's just not the demographic. It still skews older. And I think that The population around here is older. And I
Oh,
think it's
absolutely.
way there. I mean, that's also bears out.
No, I got it. But when everybody sold me on TOD, it was they couldn't afford to live in New Haven where they work, but they could jump on that train, not have a car, and get to Bethel and afford to live and shop downtown, right? So that, you know, and so to me, because I'm a conservative, it didn't generate a population in the school system, where this is more inviting to enrollment going higher. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I would say yes,
Very attractive for families, yes.
with the 2-bedroom units. But I would also question the status of our schools at the moment, whether we need the enrollment.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
Well, no, if enrollment's
that's a
down,
trend
you get
across
rid
the
of-
street.
Right.
Yeah.
Peter, you can't play that. If enrollment's down, costs go down. You know,
It's
I know
not.
nobody wants to lose a job, but so give me the ratio of 1 and 2 bedroom in this proposed 137 unit complex.
Rich, do you have that at your fingertips?
It'll take me a minute to find it.
I'm gonna look too.
Or you
And
can
then-
have that at the next meeting too,
Yeah.
because we do have other
Yeah.
items to
Yeah,
take
and
care of
then-
Yeah, we
tonight.
do.
I do want
Kit,
to,
excuse me one second. Kit,
Yes,
sometimes I think that you think you're muted and you're kind of talking over
for myself. I'm
other
sorry.
people when they're
sorry.
talking. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
I'm
that's
not
okay, please.
catching the whole conversations.
I thought it
You-
was ending, that's why.
89 2-bedroom, 48 1-bedroom.
I'm sorry, say that again. Sorry.
89 2-bedroom, 48 1-bedroom.
Peter, hang on. 89 2-bedroom, 46 1-bedroom, 2 studios.
Okay.
The studios help you.
And then I would be remiss if I didn't point out that there is bus service on Route 6. So it does have transit-oriented development associated with it. It's not the train. And certainly the bus is far less used than the train. But it is there and we shouldn't ignore it.
Kitty, that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John. Any other commissioner have something to add? No, Beth?
No,
Okay, then I think we're going to table this to our next meeting on October 26th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm looking to find, okay, so we're going to go to the business meeting right now. And I think I will sit Rob Wallace for Pat Rist and Linda for Bob Legnard. And we go to the meeting minutes of 9/28/21. Could I have a motion, please?
I move that we accept the meeting minutes for September 28th, 2021.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passed. Okay, now
we
I
had
have,
Penny and Rob made that motion.
Yes, they did.
Julie.
Jolie's looking around.
I'm
Oh,
like,
I'm sorry.
who said that?
I'm forgetting it's not Nancy.
Sorry about that.
Not a problem, dear. Okay, we have invoices. We have an invoice for the News Times. Would somebody like to make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion. We pay the invoice to News Times in the amount of $1,302.60. My only question before somebody seconds that, what application was that for? That seems like a lot of money, Beth.
It really isn't, because it was 2 or 3 different applications, and I've combined legal notices now, and I put the very bare minimum in the paper because everything's available at the town website online to review.
Okay, we need a
Excellent.
second, please.
Yep.
Second.
I'm sorry, Kenny
Ken.
Parsons. Ken Parsons is seconding that. Okay, to make a motion, how many approve this motion, please?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Next we'll go to new business, 77 South Street LLC, revised site plans. Beth, are you up for this?
I believe that we do have Doug DeVesta,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
And,
realize. you
Mike
did.
Kozlowski, I feel like, the girl from that show, I can't remember the name, I'm too tired. Adriana was
I'm
also
staring
here.
at Mike
Chair.
Kozlowski and I'm saying Beth, no.
I see Mike Kozlowski, I see Adriano, I did
Yeah.
see Doug. Doug is still
We've
here.
got
And
Doug,
Chris
we've got Chris
Campanaro.
Campanaro, we've
All
got
right.
everybody here.
Hey, everyone.
Who'd
Okay,
like to
so-
start?
So, Adriana or Doug, I'm not sure which one of you would want to just share the site plan real quick.
Doug, are you on?
Doug's on, he's muted.
So
Okay,
Michael,
David,
there's a lot of new commissioners. Maybe you want to get people, get them located to where it is before. you start talking.
Absolutely, and that's my game plan. Thank you, John. All
Do you
right,
see my
here we
screen?
go. Yep.
You got it up there?
Yes, thank you.
So, good evening. Good to see you all again. We're here again tonight to seek some site plan modifications to our previously approved development at 77 and 81 South Street. As you guys may or may not know, 77 South Street is the old Voggy woodworking building, the Verdi woodworking building. It was the original distillery for Smirnoff back in the 1920s. And 81 is just the single family house that resides next to it. As you are all keenly aware of, maybe not all of you since there are new commission members, Chris Campanaro and I have been through a lot with this project. To put it in perspective, we actually met with most of you for the first time back in November of 2019 when we could actually see you guys in person.
Yeah.
We've tackled a lot of things along the way. We've dealt with environmental remediation, dealt with acts of God, cleaned up the site. And before we get to all the modifications, as you guys have seen here, we have a new partner that we've brought on board, and that is Adriano. It has always been Chris's and my goal to do the right thing with this development and any other future ones that we hope to achieve in this town. That goal is always to make Bethel more beautiful than it already is. We have had a number of people interested in partnering with us on this, and we are 100% confident that Adriano helps us achieve our goals better than anyone else could have. As mentioned earlier, the purpose tonight is to seek some site plan modification approvals. The proposed modifications are primarily recommendations that were suggested at the time of our original approval. In partnership with Adriano and Doug, we feel we are successfully implemented these recommendations, and the modifications are as followed. First, we're looking to keep the existing dwelling on 81 South Street. Our original proposal was to demolish and create a large parking lot with the appropriate drainage for 77 South Street. We feel that maintaining 81, it achieves a little bit more of what the TOD guidelines are looking for, and that is to maintain as many dwellings as possible to create a cohesive streetscape. And by doing that, we have adjusted the parking to the rear of the building of 81, and we create a better streetscape that doesn't just look like 77 parking lot and then 83, 85, and so on down the street. In addition to keeping 81 South Street, we're also asking for additional square footage on 77 South Street, as well as 81 South Street, as hatched with the hatching there that is highlighted by Doug's cursor. The purpose of this is you may or may not have remembered we previously had, in especially along the side of 77, we had an exterior walkway with staircases that got to the second floor apartments. Now, we did not think it was the greatest solution. It was an economical solution. It did look like a business office, and it also may have looked like a motel. But by doing this, we get an extra square footage that allows us to have interior staircases and corridors to the 14 approved apartments at 77 South Street. The additional square footage on 81 South Street would allow us to have additional units of a two-family. It would be
Mike, you're freezing up, Mike.
Okay, you've lost Mike, but what he's done is there was originally 14 units approved in the Voggy building. Okay. And so what he's done is now they're proposing 12 units
Right.
in the Voggy building and putting the 2 over here,
Oh, the house.
the house.
Correct.
Are you back, Mike?
No, I think
I'm
he's
back.
dropped.
Sorry about
He
that.
jumped out.
Okay.
Before you keep going,
All right.
is it
Sorry about that.
possible?
Just
Hang on one second. Is it possible
just to go back
to
real
enlarge
quick,
this?
the final thing is
Oh, yeah, can we enlarge this picture?
Please, can we
Thank
enlarge
you.
it?
All right, there you go.
Great, thank you.
Much better.
so the final thing we're asking for a modification is a reduction from 23 to 21 parking spaces. The reduction of 2 parking spaces would come to the left of 81, which right now is what we propose as a driveway to that residence. We think that that the reduction of that will help aesthetically as the streetscape coming down South Street, as I mentioned before, just maintaining the very village-like look we have there on South Street. We feel that the 21 parking space is sufficient parking spaces, and Adriano could speak to his experience with his development at 10 Worcester to how that works. I'll pass the mic over to Doug. He can speak to a couple of the highlighted tweaks we've made for the engineering of this project.
Hey, Mike, just quickly before we bring in Doug, and can everyone hear me okay? It's Adriano.
Yes.
So Mike, thanks, and Chris, obviously, one of the things that I want to highlight, and I think some of these themes and talking points were discussed in the prior topic with the Gleason Gary Michael transaction, is that, look, 30 years from now, we have to look at these buildings. So it's really important that, and I know all of this is always taken into consideration, and we spent a lot of time on this in 10 Worcester, and we'll spend a lot of time on all of our developments, in that what you do today really does matter 30 years down the road, and the materials that we use and how a building feels within a specific neighborhood. So these decisions, clearly well recommended in the prior meetings with Chris and Mike before I came on, when you remove this exterior staircase and when you walk by it and you drive by it and you have to see it every day, it's now an interior corridor. The west face of this building now has a beautiful face, similar to clearly what will be on the east elevation side facing the train track. The 81 South Street building is a beautiful home. It looks like a haunted house at the moment, but similar to what we did on 10 Worcester, we can preserve it. It's more expensive. It's expensive to maintain these older structures, but it's important to see that gradual change, that you have this big building by a train track, that it gradually transitions into what is a very beautiful neighborhood. Those were the key themes in here. The other one that's important, and I know this has come down, is affordability. I'm all about kids. I'm all about families. Where someone lives, how they live is absolutely vital. The way you walk in a home, how you throw away your garbage, what you hear at night, how the building is lit, all of this matters. The micro details really matter here. So I think clearly some of the changes and suggestions that we've made are some of those micro decisions about how good it feels when you come home and you're living in a beautiful place. That basically means that developers take less money. And every project that we have and everything that we focus on is affordable housing projects. Clearly there is an affordable housing component here, but with that affordable housing strategy theme that clearly I've dedicated, my career to, is around how someone feels when they live in this home and what this building will look like in a community 30 years from now. That's really, really important. So with that, certainly I want to put it in Doug's point that can certainly talk about, some of the tweaks that we've made from an engineering perspective, but I think those are really key points as we look at this project, and certainly as we propose many others within, the downtown area of Bethel.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Doug DeVesta, professional engineer, represent the applicant here. I'm just gonna go back to the original approved plan. This is the original plan that was approved by this commission back in, I believe, 2019. You can see we have the parking lot, pretty much all parking lot. Mike was saying, you just see a parking lot for 77, area in the center with pavers for drainage, and then a large sidewalk with some patio area outside and some green space up in the north and west corner. So now going back to our revised site plan, again, keeping the existing building with an addition here, and then keeping the existing residence with the an addition. So we're providing still a same entrance point off of South Street, coming into the parking lot with a slightly larger paver stone drainage area. It's only extra, this is 20 feet wide by 70, and was 25 by 50. So it's only a small amount of difference in the area with 12 inches of stone in there. So that's going to handle the runoff from all the impervious areas on the site. We did some test holes, good materials here, sandy gravel material, still providing a little bit of outdoor space for the residents in the area. And they are providing the garbage collection area, providing some landscaping along the western side from the residential properties to the west here, and still hooking to the sanitary sewer and to the municipal water on site itself. So we feel really just the parking lot configuration changed, just the fact that we're keeping the house on 81 South Street here and still providing a handicap access space for the residents in the area. That's really minor changes to the grading, just to make sure everything drains to the center and into the paver stone, which is a pervious area for collection of the runoff. I'll be glad to answer any questions from the commissioners on this time.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Mike, are you all finished?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, so would any commissioners have any questions? Penny?
Sorry, Penny, Kenny, I really like the idea that you're keeping that house. Because I think it just really blends into the rest. I think this is a wonderful change. I like this change. And as one of the unit owners of Village Square, the condos,
We can
we
laugh
saw each other a
now.
lot less. We really saw each other a lot last summer.
Yeah.
I am just so intensely grateful that, thank God nobody was hurt and that things seem to hopefully be getting back together again. So that is great. I would love to see what this looked like, in some kind of rendering to see, because now I know you've got an inside corridor and all of that. I think you've done a lot of good planning on it. So that's no questions, just comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Kenny Parsons?
Yeah, I like the idea. This is a nice improvement. I agree with Penny. I'd like to see a rendering of the west side of the building to see what it looks like. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Linda, Curtis?
Yeah, I like all the changes, and I really look forward to seeing the completed design.
Okay. Rob Wallace?
Where are we looking at the entrances to the 12-unit property being, or has that been figured out yet? Just curious.
It has, I have a preliminary elevation. We're on draft number 5 right now. So I'm happy to put that on the screen, but just know that we still have a lot of work to do. Right now, there are 2 entrances to 77 South Street that we'll propose just based on the building code. If you look at the number on the screen that says 379, those would be kind of that centerpiece, 2 entrances into the building right there off the concrete.
Okay.
Okay. Is that it, Rob?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, Rob Stoll?
Just want to jump back. Sorry, excuse me. Am I muted still?
No.
Nope.
Oh, okay, thank you. The parking issue, the 12 units and 4 units, single bedroom, 2 bedroom, what's the breakdown?
So total 16 apartments. What we would propose right now is, I think we have 2 or 3 2-bedrooms. The rest of them are 1 bedroom with an open office space, just given fully where we've gone with the pandemic, and or den space. But basically 2 or 3 2-bedrooms and the rest of them 1 bedroom. The one comment that I want to make here, and it's something that we do with again all of our projects, whether here in New York City or in Connecticut. Right now, I'm looking at the screen, I can't share it in confidence, is when we built 10 Wooster, I build a prospect list of every possible tenant that comes and takes a look at the project. I've met every single one of them. Right now, there's a list of 52 people on this list. Many of them single mothers with 2 or 3 kids who earn very good money. One of the things that we'll look to do, and it's certainly not for tonight, I'd love to create 3-bedroom units in the TOD district. You see kids, you'll hear kids, you'll bring kids into that inner corridor of a beautiful, beautiful town. I'd love to build it here. When you look at any major developer right now in the greater Danbury area, and really by and large in Connecticut, no one builds 3 bedrooms. The yield on a 3-bedroom is nowhere near as great as a 2 or 1 bedroom. But the need from families, especially growing families, and or if you decide not to have kids because you have a lot of stuff, is the demand for 3 bedrooms. Developers don't do it because it doesn't enrich the pocket. I'd love to see us now certainly embrace a little bit more of a 2-bedroom den or 3-bedroom concept where people can save money, live in a downtown area, walk to where they need, and embrace what is a great community with great schools. I don't have 3 bedrooms here. I'd love to do it. Again, it means less money, but I think the town needs it, in my observation. And I'm happy to share a lot of the qualitative and quantitative data that I've gathered around all of the tenants that I have in the area, specifically around the newly built project at 10 Moose Street.
Thank you. Thank you very much. John, are you finished, Rob?
Yeah.
No, Rob, oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, John Lennon?
Yeah, thank you, Kitty. So there's 16 units. Give me the plus and minuses on parking spots for the old site plan versus the new one. Did we lose? What did we lose and what did we gain?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to answer that in 2 parts. The original plan, I believe, had 23 spaces.
Right.
Right. Right now, we are proposing 23, but I'd like for us to move away from 23 to 21 for reasons that Mike highlighted around, the 2 parking spaces that are in front of 81. It doesn't make sense aesthetically. When we look at 10 Worcester as a case study, 10 Worcester has 15 parking spaces for 10 units. I have 3 2-bedroom units there. We have no issues with parking. No one's parking in the municipal center. The composition of tenants that live there are seniors, young couples, and I've got 2 families. I don't find that there's an issue with 15 parking spots for 10 units, 3 of which are 2 bedrooms. Here, with the subtraction of 2 units, 21 parking spaces, predominantly 1-bedroom units. I think it's a fair balance. I would actually probably propose to be a little bit more aggressive on a TOD and further embrace clearly all the money that's been spent on sidewalks, and it's great. I don't foresee an issue here from a parking standpoint, given what I've experienced at 10 Moose Street.
Okay, great. But so it's 21 with the 2 on the side of 81, or it's
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 23 with the ones next to 81, and we'd like to kill those 2 and make it 21 in total.
Make them agree.
Is that curb cut currently there?
It is not.
No.
Okay, so you'd have to create it there.
Yeah.
So you're thinking 21 is a good fit for 16, and I got it. So, but it could be 23 with an additional curb cut.
Yeah, personally, for selfish reasons of how things look, it just looks far better if you don't do it, because they're tight driveways. All the other properties have that very tight, narrow driveway space. It just doesn't look good. I'd rather see green grass in front of a house than a driveway.
And John, there's also a driveway right here. So you have 2 driveways side by side. So this would not look that good. It's like what Adriana was saying. So they made this lawn area, then you have a driveway here to the neighbor's house. So I think it will look better without that driveway there.
One of the other things that I do want to mention, it's something that we did on 10 Worcester, and we still need to button up certain items there that we're being very micro on. I'd like to phase this project because I certainly want people to see, hey, we may start with 81 so you could see how beautiful it will look, bring in the asphalt so you get a size of what it will look like, and then start, really, everything on 77. When you phase out a project, you get to see it in steps. It's so difficult to make decisions in paper on a rendering We did it on 10 Wooster. You know, we were engaging the town architect. You know, I had some great ideas. She proved me to be wrong. And the renovation of the multifamily has come out really well. But you wouldn't see and touch that until you did it later on. Here, and Beth can speak to it, I really want this to be, hey, if you see something halfway through that doesn't look right, we'll fix it. We'll really will. As it relates to the parking, look, for now, we can treat it as buffer parking, because I want all of us to feel really confident and secure that this works. Come see how it is when we get the asphalt in, we finish the multifamily, and you can see for yourself, it works. It's worked at 10 Wooster.
Okay, because as a commission, I don't think we want to make the problem at the old railroad station, that public parking, worse than it currently is, because the success for downtown is a combination of residential and commercial. And I think that area is borderline working right now, right? So we don't want 4 cars to park on the other side of the tracks and have a problem all weekend.
Yeah.
And we currently don't have 24-hour parking. So there really isn't somewhere for overflow. So, it needs to work in your heads. Are you guys going to be owner landlords and you're going to maintain the property?
Let me be clear. Everything that we develop and everything that we buy is not condo and is not for sale. Everything truly, and it's all dedicated again to affordable housing. Clearly, there's 20% requirement here. We go well above beyond that. All of my developments are well above 20% affordable.
Okay, and so could you run your cursor on the addition to the original Verde building? So no, the new addition. Okay, so that all of that pink is going to be the new building, not
John, sorry, this is Mike Kozlowski cutting in there really quickly. There is actually a demo line. We were actually straightening off the back of the building for what we were previously proposing. Halfway through, actually more than halfway through that hatched area, you could see where the building is. It's probably about 50% of that hatched area is existing right there. Yep. And then coming down that way. So
okay, so that's the new proposed footprint of the building, or all the way to the gray?
All the way to the gray now is proposed, where he's outlining it with his cursor. But the reason why it's showing as additional square footage is because we previously were actually reducing the size. Where there's an arrow pointing to where it says standing wall there in the top. Yeah. So we were actually demoing a portion of that building now previously.
Right.
Hey, John, and look, let me just say 2 things, and I'll want to put an image up with Beth's permission. Right now, when you calculate rough back of the envelope, that space on 2 floors is only 2,200 square feet. It's not very large. It looks bigger than what it is. And certainly as you come down the angle, you lose a lot of square footage.
But it almost looks like 70% more of the footprint of that existing building.
It isn't. It isn't. So the existing footprint of the building on 2 floors in the aggregate is about 8,400 square feet. We're adding only about 2,200 square feet in total to the existing footprint of the building. If you would allow me, and I say this with full disclosure, we're not done and we're not seeking architectural approval here. There's one already in place with the prior submission. I'm happy to put an image up so you can see where we are in our current drafting, so you can see the benefit impact to the building. So Beth, if you're okay, knowing full well this is still very preliminary, I'd like to see, so you could see where that additional space and how it's being worked in to the overall site plan, if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, I have no issue.
I'll stop sharing.
Before we go to slide 3, can you put the cursor where I always thought the building was a rectangle? So it sounds like that shed area. Okay, go up. Now to the left.
Right there.
Right there.
Yep.
Is that the existing building right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
so
that's a
that's
living
what
room.
throws me. Okay, so that's what's throwing me off. So if you continue to the gray shade, that's your addition, right?
Correct.
Yes.
That's why it's not 70%. It's more like 30%.
And
Correct.
John, about 2 years ago, where the cursor is now, there was an old wooden barn attached
Yeah.
that
Oh, that's right.
collapsed during a snowstorm, and we had it
Yeah.
removed. And it pretty much went along the length of that property line, almost to the front of South Street.
I remember.
So the lot coverage there was a lot, it was considerable.
Mhm.
Got it. All right, great. Looking forward to the renderings. Go ahead.
I'll stop
let
sharing.
me-
Okay,
I'll share my screen. Thank you, Doug. Can everyone see my screen?
yes, okay.
Let me actually go to a different image. So right now there are multiple options. So the east elevation is where you're facing the train track. Actually, let me start with the approved rendering so you kind of get a, this is, and these weren't the final approved images or renderings, but it gives you a snapshot on what was pretty close. This image here with the red awnings are facing the train track clearly, very colonial look. On the back side, that's where you see the exterior staircase. And that would have opened up to an open parking lot. I think, you know, clearly we all in consensus would agree that it's challenging to look at when you walk it, drive it, and over time, 30 years from now, what would that appear to be like? Clearly as a team, we've spent now a lot of time now going to something that's more expensive. So if you look at the image that's number 2, west elevation, that's where the exterior staircase would have been. Now, more expensive, you've got an interior corridor. One interior corridor goes to the lower level, the other doorway goes to the second floor. And we're going to bring in, you know, very, very aesthetic materials. You know, whether it be an LP siding very similar to what we used on 10 Booster. And again, I have vision images that I can certainly show, but we'll bring all that to the fold at the architectural review. The importance of this building is vital. It's really a very iconic position within the TOD. We really, really want to make sure the thing looks spectacular, which will hopefully also invite other people to do equal style and expensive type of renovations. So right now what you're seeing is, again, something that's very colonial, very New England, not as modern farmhouse style as we did on 10 Worcester. But when you remove that exterior staircase, the west elevation now has a beautiful face.
Is that corridor on the west side to get to the individual units, or a center corridor?
It's a center corridor that will allow everyone to get to their bottom units. And then there's a door right next to it that will give access to the units above.
Through a center hallway or through on the west side?
Through a center hallway.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh,
So one of the other things that, again, we will work with the town architect is preserving the history of the building. Part of what we'll do and what we're thinking about right now internally in the corridors is to bring a lot of the image and art and photographs and narratives of what this building was. You know, and we'll bring and sprinkle some of that onto the site as well. Again, we'll come back in the architectural review so you can see how we're doing that in a very classic and timeless way.
sounds good.
I'll stop sharing.
Okay, John?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just want to say thank you. I think the changes are great. I love that the house is remaining. So that all I visualized when I saw the original was this massive parking lot. And so with the house being there and the inside staircases for people who live in that apartment building, I went, yes, I love it. So I'm
Thank you.
happy. Beth, do you have any questions? Yep. Beth, you're muted. You are.
I should be muted. I don't know if you could read my lips. And Mike or someone, you can jump in if you want to. So I think what we're looking at this evening is a request from the applicant to do this in 2 phases. First phase being 81 South Street, and the second phase being 77 South Street. And it's also my understanding that the applicant is looking for approval of the site plan.
Down.
And at this point, with that understanding. But thirdly, you all have to understand that you're not approving architecture at this point. It has to go through the process again and go to Alyssa. And I'm sure that, you know, we'll work hard and work together, and then they will be coming back for another approval pertaining to the architecture. Is that pretty much it, Mike?
Yes.
I also want to note for the record too, that in speaking with them, they've been very transparent and open over the last couple of months. They did run into another hiccup with the Bethel Health Department pertaining to 81 South Street. So that was one of the things that took long to resolve. And that was all their environmental testing is done now. It's complete. They did testing over 81. That should not be a holdback at this point. Am I correct?
Correct. That is correct. We remediated both lots successfully. Our LEP provided the BHD the final closure report, the third and final closure report for 81. And we are expecting a full approval this week or next week from Laura and team.
From
the
Laura?
BHD, correct.
Do they have this plan?
They do not have this. They do not have this specific plan yet. No.
So Beth, what we explained to Laura was it was the remediation of the soil that was on majority of the 77, it's creeped down to 81 with the lead that was in the soil. Then we did the drip line around 81 once we told her that we were looking to save the 81 as a structure. So that's why we went back the third time for soil remediation around 81 South Street.
Okay.
So she's aware that we're looking to keep 81 and the plan will change. But it all comes down from the environmental.
Okay, so you do understand that this will be referred, not by the Planning and Zoning Commission to the Health Department, but it goes to the Health Department during department review process.
Yes.
If the commission agrees with this concept.
Correct.
Correct.
So what you're looking for is a motion to approve or a consensus? Yeah.
I'm looking for however you want to do it.
What?
That's Kitty, that's where I was gonna, if I could jump in. But Beth, you think that the changes are minor enough that it doesn't warrant a public hearing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because we're keeping it, you know, I'm okay with that because the big building is kind of the big building, but I want everybody to understand that that's the trigger. So if everybody thinks it's minor enough, then we could do an approval, and I think it should be a motion, but
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. 'Cause
My
I'm not
suggestion-
sure that we got enough plans that, you know, go ahead.
My suggestion would be is to come to a consensus if you like this plan.
Yes.
Because I think there's a couple of things that I would add. For example, you had there was some talk about that driveway connected to 83 or 85 South Street there.
Yep.
For example, in some of the other zones that you have, you may want to call that reserve parking.
Right.
Future parking. You know, you may not require them to build it now, but see how the development goes. And if it doesn't work, then they come back and they have to put in that parking.
Right.
There's tweaking like that I would like a chance to put something together and have you look at it.
True, and that would be a stipulation and part of it would be in the
Right.
approval, right?
Right. There's some tweaking I just want to do. So if you are interested in that, then come to a consensus. And if you don't like it, let us know and we'll have further discussions.
Is the reduction in parking consistent with TOD currently?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Plus they have a variance. They have a
Yeah.
variance on this piece.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
One other item that I just wanted to clarify, and thank you, Beth, is look, when we submit clearly to the architectural review side of the equation, it'll be both 77 and 81, you know, so clearly they'll need to come through. So let's say hypothetically we get that signed off. We'll probably most definitely submit building plans for review and approval for 81 first. You know, we'll get going on that first. But in short order, you know, probably within 30 to 45 days after that, we'll submit 77. So 81 will certainly progress and start before 77. From a phase perspective. So by the, we expect within a 3 to 4 month span, 81 is done from when we start. 77 will take much longer than that. But, at one point, both projects will happen at the same time, only that phase 1 will be done far, quicker than 77 will. And that'll give you a perspective of, clearly what it's going to look like.
For financing purposes, Adriano, are you asking though for that specifically to be called a phase 1 and a phase 2?
No, it doesn't need to be. I
Okay.
think from a financing perspective, what's important is that they remain 2 tax parcels. Ultimately, it's one development, but they're 2 parcels, and that's the way it is today.
All right.
So.
Okay, understood.
So they don't
So
want us,
I'm sorry, so there'd be parking easements to shared parking
Correct.
down
Yep.
the road. Got it.
Yep.
So I think we should just take a consensus, Kitty, and, do a roll call and make sure everybody's comfortable with what we're about to do.
okay. So I think that's what we're going to do for the 77, 81 properties right now. So Ken Parsons,
I'm okay.
Penny Kessler,
I'm okay.
Linda Curtis,
I'm good with it.
Rob Wallace,
Thumbs up.
Rob Stoll,
Go.
John Lennon,
We're good?
Judy Grant, yes. Okay, so we have a consensus for that property. So we will move on.
The commission has come to a consensus.
Yes.
Now Beth is gonna go off with a draft.
Exactly, and draft something for the next meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good
Have
luck,
a good
guys.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, and now where do we go from here? Oops, sorry. Now we go to the work session and commission comments on Target Corporation special permit site plan text amendment, expansion of existing structure, 7 Stony Hill Road. Okay. So we had so shall I start with commission members? All right. Anybody have any further comments? Shall I start with Penny Kessler on the Target Corporation?
The only comments I have are based on what we heard from the residents.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, those are my only concerns. So I'm looking to hear from other people what they think.
Okay.
But what were the concerns, Penny? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't
Oh, sorry.
specifically.
So specifically noise, traffic, truck entrance and exit.
Light pollution was mentioned.
Oh, right, the light pollution. So there were a host of things that I think make sense coming from neighbors to a big box store. So those were the concerns that I would have agreed with. I think that so I think that the company is doing what it can. What I found interesting is that there appears not to be any additional sales floor space.
No.
I'm just sort of also interested, but this is personally, right now it doesn't look like they'll have a drive-through kind of thing for the Starbucks.
No, they're not at all. No.
That's going to be interesting that they would be planning on putting in a Starbucks, but not making any kind of easy access for drive-by pickup. But that's a curiosity for me.
Well, that was a question we asked about, and they said
I
definitely not.
remember that they weren't going to put in any kind of drive-through. But so I'm looking. Those. I have to say I am sympathetic to what the neighbors had to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Okay. Kenny Parsons.
It sounded like they were a pretty good neighbor in general. I think the people that live there have kind of gotten used to whatever issues there were. I don't think we can force Target to do much more than maybe adjust the lights.
Okay. Right. Okay, Linda Curtis?
Yeah, obviously, you know, I understand what the neighbors are going through there, but I really don't see that the changes that Target is suggesting are going to make a big difference or really make it worse, much worse than it is right now. And it's not really going to be a big box store. It's just doing like Kohl's does right now, that they've got the parking spaces that you just park there and you wait for the help to bring out your purchases.
Right.
So that's, you know, it's not turning into a BJ's or a Costco kind of thing. And as far as Starbucks goes, I mean, they just want it for the convenience of the shoppers, not to draw people in off of the highway. So, you know, I think that's okay. I don't particularly like Starbucks. I wish they did something else, but that's me.
Okay, all right, Rob Wallace?
Yeah, I agree. I think most of the issues that were raised were more code compliance issues than what, you know, is, you know, within our oversight here. I don't think there was anything that would have been precluded, and I think it's just, you know, it's Target, you know, doing what our previous presenters are, you know, we're talking about, which is just, you know, responding to the market. And you know, I think that part of it makes sense, as long as there's nothing that goes against state code or current code on there. I have no problem with it.
Okay, thank you. John Lennon, Rob Stoll, I'm sorry.
I can
Oh,
echo
bye-bye.
Rob's comments. And then also, when you think about, you know, the whole Starbucks issue, this thing is sandwiched by two other Starbucks, one on Newtown Road and the other one further up on Stony Hill Road. Yeah, I don't see this as being a destination Starbucks that's going to attract much traffic. And I think for the viability of Target to weather the new reality, this is an excellent opportunity for them to, you know, keep the business going and thriving. They're still going to have the off-site warehouse, so I don't really see it as a big issue.
Thank you, Rob. John Lennon?
All right. Hey, Rob, I agree with you tonight. You did good. I'm proud of you.
Oh my God, miracles will never cease.
I'll let you guys figure out.
I don't
which
see where we're all that
Rob.
different, John. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I just ask questions, that's all.
Right. So my first, so I was concerned when I read Starbucks, right? So, but you got to remember the testimony we heard from corporate Target when they were there. The first thing he said that really, really struck me, and I thought about the entire 2 weeks since we had that public hearing, was if you're not changing, you're falling behind. And we certainly, as Bethel residents, we want Route 6 to be successful. And what he meant was, if you're not changing with the current, then you're gonna fall behind. You're gonna have an empty storefront, right? So I think that asking for a 13,000 square foot addition to the left side of that building to work with the trends that are changing, right? So people want to buy online and they want to pick it up, right? So I know it's going to create more traffic, but I think it's not a huge addition to the building for what they're trying to do with the market trends, right? So that's that one. The second one, Starbucks seems really scary, right? Like Starbucks to me seems like it's a restaurant. You go in there and you get breakfast. That's not what they said it was. It was going to service the guests, and it was going to be really almost a Starbucks counter. And he said for his guests that are walking and shopping in their store. So I think that comment made me feel much comfortable that it wasn't going to be a traffic generating, garbage generating fast food Starbucks, right? So it was just to service their customers that were there. All of the majority, you know, this was a public hearing for a text amendment based on what the applicant wanted to do. Everything that I heard from the neighborhood were compliance issues that should have been directed directly to our land use commission and our zoning official. I get it. I live in Stony Hill. It's definitely, you know, an impact on our community, but we're going to have all of those complaints with or without this 13,000 square foot addition, right? The lighting is an issue. The plow guy, everybody hates the plow guy in the middle of the night. All of those issues are not going to either increase or decrease with a approval or a denial. So I feel comfortable with what they asked. Once, Kitty, you're asking for a motion, I do have a motion of approval that I would like to read, but I want everybody to be able to give their input first.
Thank you, John. I'm the only one left. I was very impressed with what they said. They actually spoke to the people who were there, who were upset. I think his name was Dietrich, said he was going to make sure that there was a number and a name of someone that they could call when something happens, this noise in the middle of the night, or any other problems that they may have. And I thought that was a tremendous plus for that. I feel sorry, I feel bad for the beeping of the backup trucks, because I know I'm a very light sleeper, and when Bethel comes down plowing my street and backs up, they wake me up every time. But I'm not going to tell them no, because I need it done. The lights, I think we have to address in our stipulation that something has, something could be raised for the on-off, which I believe, as I recall, we had something in our original plan about the timing of the lights. So, but other than that, I feel that they answered our questions, and I think we're ready to move on. Does anybody else have-
The lighting was involved in a judgment in a lawsuit.
Yes, it was.
So that, yeah.
Right. So I think that's been answered already. So I think we're ready to move on. John?
I'd like to
prepare a motion for us.
Yep. I'd like to make a.
Excuse me, John, before you start.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, Beth.
Several of the commission members, first I see that Gail's hand is raised, and unfortunately, Gail, the public hearing is closed, so no more testimony can be taken. Second of all, 2 or 3 of the commission of you guys spoke with me over the last 2 weeks and requested that we put something, your thoughts down on paper, so you could go through it tonight. Before you start, John, there are 3 different motions that are 2 different motions, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
three.
sorry.
You mean
There's
that
3.
involve 3 different sections of the regulations?
Correct.
One of them is just a delete and an or, but yeah.
Correct. And then there's also a motion for a site plan and special permit.
Right.
That's in the drive?
Yeah, 1 and 2. Yeah, 4.4,
Okay.
6.2, and 6.2
No,
No,
but that, Kitty, you're referring to text amendments. I did not print, Beth, and I'm sorry.
Okay,
If
that's
somebody
okay.
has it to read it, I certainly would entertain a motion if somebody just wanted to read that off. But we need to start with the text.
Correct. Start with the text.
So ready? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the following amendments to the Town of Bethel zoning regulations. Section 4.4.D, maximum commercial floor area limitations. So the maximum commercial floor area in a Route 6 zone change to 7,750 square feet of a public floor area per gross acreage. Okay. So we should probably do this in 3 different motions, right, Beth?
Okay.
Yes.
We have a second for that?
So that's my first motion, Kitty.
Could I have a second for that, please?
Second.
Okay, Penny?
Ken Parsons.
Ken Parsons. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
All right, so
Can
I know Penny's gonna want to be the second on this one. So this is an important one, all right? So section 6.2.D.3 C permanent site use reductions. I want to delete the word and or. Go ahead, Penny.
Second and third.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
All right, so my last motion on text amendment stuff is section 6.2. D.3. E, new, this is new, okay? So E.A, proposed expansion to an existing retail store development located in the Route 6 zone will not result in additional parking needs. However, any reduction shall not exceed more than 20% of the required parking spaces for the retail development. In reasons, according to the commission finds that the amendments to the zoning regulations are in accordance with the comprehensive plan in conformance with the 2020 plan of conservation and development. Once we adopt or we get this motion, I want for the record, the effective date to be October 30th, 2021. That's the motion, Kitty.
Could I have a second?
Go ahead, Penny.
Sure.
It's the Penny and John show. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
So when it comes to a motion for the site plan, Beth or David, if you have that text, if you would read that, I certainly would make that motion.
Can you put it up on the screen, David?
Already done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Would somebody just read that off of the text? I just can't with the blur. I'm sorry.
How about this?
Whew. Okay. Mr. Deaster?
Yeah, but this is not in a draft of a motion.
Oh,
This is the motion? Beth?
no,
Okay, wait. David, I have, please, I have David starting to do some of these resolutions for me.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want, I can read the portions that are important to you.
That would be
and go
great.
through
Beth.
that.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay. So on October 12th, 2021, the commission approved a special permit application for 13,000 building expansion parking lot, including 24 drive-up stalls, partial in-store remodel, including renovation of existing accessory snack bar. Also, the commission approved a special permit for permanent site use reduction to parking requirements as provided by proposed articles of the zoning regs from 613 to 578. The approvals are for Target. We list out the names, the maps associated with it. Can you go down? I'm not getting. Stipulations are normal and customary for the most part of what has to be done in accordance with this. And keep going.
Right.
So
Okay,
stipulations 1 through 14 and
1 through
then-
14.
Yep.
And then the reason for the following reasons: commissions carefully reviewed the application, listened to testimony, gauge the applicant in substantive discussions, determine the pros use of the property for commercial purposes is in accordance with the allowable uses as listed in section 4.3 of the zoning regs. Constructed as approved, the project will not be a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighboring properties, the district, or the town of Bethel. The effective date of this approval should be October 31st, 2021.
May I have a second, please?
John made that motion.
Yeah, I made the motion, but should we give Jolene like 5 minutes to catch up, or is she with us?
No, she'll be fine. She's
So-
about 20 feet away from me tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Kitty, that's my motion. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Did you get a second? Did you get a
Yes,
second?
Penny, raise your hand. Opposed? Abstention, motion passes.
And Kitty, please note also that this has to go through department review.
Okay.
And at that time, certain things pertaining to energy efficiency of the lights and the facade and things of that nature will be taken under careful consideration by the department.
Okay, great, right. Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Where's my agenda? Public input before, I think that's out of order. Public
It is out
input.
of order because the planner did the agenda,
Okay,
because
so
my secretary can't stay.
that's right. Okay, so we're going to have the planner's report first, please.
Okay, and again, I've misplaced my agenda, Kitty. It's a catchy disease.
Okay.
I believe the first item I wanted to bring up was
77.
77 Greenwood Avenue.
Yes.
The 7-Eleven Sicko station on the corner of
Oh,
Chestnut
that.
and Greenwood. David, can we share that screen? David,
David.
where'd he go?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I got it from my,
Oh, there it is.
from where I was just for 1 second, I'll pull it up.
And that's what always happens.
Oh, Beth, I'm sorry, Sitco, that's the one near the Sycamore?
Food bag.
No,
No,
I'm
just-
sorry, I didn't hear.
it's the one across from Caroluzzi's liquor store.
Okay, food bag, got it,
Food
thank
bag.
you.
That's what it said.
Yeah, food bag.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're all
So-
there.
Is David here? David, can you bring up food bag? Thank
I
you.
got it.
All
I
right,
got
so
it.
this is the rendering. It's not in color. Alyssa has spoken them once or twice. We're very limited as to what we can do with this building. This is an improvement. It's dark blue in nature. I'm sorry I didn't get the color renderings up. I tried to talk to them about the canopy. Could we get the canopy a little darker in color? They're not willing to budge on that. I think that this is the best we're going to get under the circumstances for this building. They are hiding the utilities on top of the roof. And at the same time, they also have gotten a cease and desist order on their new sign that they just installed, which is a great improvement, I think, to the previous sign. The only problem is that they have the LED lights so they can interchange the pricing, and that's not an allowed use in the downtown area.
I have a question.
Sure.
What happened to the whole brick facade idea?
The facade is gone.
Gone.
And it's it's like a gray slate, dark blue.
How does that, I'm just imagining it. Does that blend at all with what's around it?
No.
I'm trying to visualize the red building next door.
Yeah,
and the
because
pretty
you've got
buildings across
the
street.
bricks
No.
across the street with Caroluzzi. You've
Yeah.
got the
Colorful one
brickish
on the corner.
buildings.
We sent him the renderings.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Wherever he is, he's doing what he wants to do. Sounds like.
When he started, it wasn't good.
It was worse.
This is a little bit, it's a little bit better. It's cleaner. It has a cleaner look to it. And that's basically all I can tell you.
So just for clarification, we don't, as a commission, have any input into the exterior of business buildings?
No, I don't think so.
Existing, we do to a degree. But it is difficult sometimes because they're not asking for anything. You know, if someone comes in and they're asking for an addition to their building or to upgrade their building, that's one thing. But in this instance, it's extremely difficult to take this structure and say, okay, how are we going to make it look better?
So, excuse me, basically what they're doing is they're siding the outside of the building.
Right.
That's basically all they're doing.
But it's a difficult, Penny's a great question, but it's very difficult to say, how are we going to make this better? It's a gas station.
Yeah. They're not changing the inside at all.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Beth, oh, go ahead, Rob, sorry.
Please, everybody chime in.
No, that they are remodeling the inside.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, but they're not, but we're not worried about the inside. We're in charge of the outside. What Beth is saying, if they change the footprint of the building, then it would be, we would be in on it, but they're just changing the color, you know.
And the materials.
Is that vinyl siding?
It's some kind of board. I can't.
So it's clapboards.
I don't need surgery, but I don't have cataracts, but I can't see it.
I can't read it. Okay. Illuminated start now.
Cement lap siding.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Cement lap siding.
Yes.
Whatever that is.
Where does it say that?
See the finished schedule
on the right-hand side.
Oh,
right side of the
God.
drawing?
You must have a magnifying glass, right?
Yeah,
I've got a very big monitor.
Fiber cement lap siding. There it is.
It's also known as hardy board.
Yeah, they are using, we got them to do the hardy board.
Okay.
Steel gray.
Oh, but that, so I guess, so when you said they first came in, it was really bad. What was it?
It wasn't much.
I mean,
It was
what did you do, paint the bricks?
I think there was part of the bricks were white, part of it was remaining the way it is. And we went from there.
Hey.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't pick the color, but I guess the siding is better than the 80s brick, you know, yeah.
He looked at the regulations and the regulations called for a hardy board.
Oh.
And that's not in the village, right? Or is it?
No, this is in TOD.
Yeah, but the village district, you know, with the architectural review, it got that or no?
No, he got paid architectural review. They have to pay for it.
All right.
That's what this is here, John.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, we try.
And the canopy is remaining white.
Yes, I tried to get him to paint it.
And Penny, they're all recommendations. It's hard to, you know, put teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Do you want us to do something about this or?
I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Okay.
When you see the color.
That'd be great.
Just note for the record that I reviewed it with the commission, Jolene,
Thank you very much.
because it'll be all on me.
No.
The secretary will disavow any knowledge of your action.
Jolene, just smile.
The second thing is, the last thing I have is 36 Stony Hill Road, presently called the Farms. It's the one with the concrete
Yes.
in
the
the middle
elevator
of the
shaft.
property. Okay. After many long years, I would say that it will be changing hands very, very shortly to a reputable developer from the New England area that I'm very familiar with many of the affordable housing seminars and things I've attended with the state of Connecticut. And they will build it exactly as it is presented. But in
original?
order,
I'm sorry.
excuse me?
The original site?
Yes, the original site and site
Wow.
plan. So anyways, they're looking for an extension of completion to October 13th, 2023.
Would somebody like to make that motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion to grant an extension to the date that Beth just mentioned. Beth, that means a start date in 2023, but then they
That
have
means
5
an
years to
end.
finish it out. Yeah, exactly.
End,
Oh, 10, excuse me.
end date,
End, John, end.
end.
Oh, that's an end date, so they have to have that
Yes.
completed by the October 2023.
Yes. Can I amend that also?
Yes.
You could amend it, yeah.
My suggestion would be to amend it, that if no activity takes place on the property, no substantial activity takes place on the property within the next 6 months, that the commission will consider calling the bonds.
Are you comfortable with 6 months? I was thinking a year when you were in the middle of
No,
summer. Perfect.
6 months.
I would
That'll
love,
give them
I'd
till
love my
spring.
motion to be amended to that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, all those in favor?
Little discussion first.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry. Yes, please,
Is
please,
there
I
any
would suggest you look at it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest.
Oh, it's a beautiful,
Possibly,
beautiful application.
If Dave or someone could put it up on a Google Drive so that we could take a look at just some drawings that was proposed. Is that even possible at this point?
Do we have that, Dave?
How many
36
decades
Stony
ago
Hill
was this?
Road?
All right, we're all talking at the same time. Hold on. David, if you can walk me through, if I can get into my email.
Okay.
I have the drawings in my email, I believe, or go back to my Google Drive. I think I can pull them up. I might have looked at them in there.
For 36 Stony Hill, Beth.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
I didn't see them in there. I'm sorry.
No, that's
For
okay.
tonight anyway.
Hold on a minute.
This is what the drive has for tonight.
I understand, but I have I think I opened them in there.
Rob, the good thing is it's got a 20,000 square foot medical building on Route 6.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. What do you think? But the apartments and the settings were absolutely beautiful. A place you'd actually want to live.
Beth, I wasn't, didn't have to see it tonight. There's.
Oh, I'm just so sorry, Rob, because I wasn't taking it under consideration. It's really my fault. I feel terrible. Let me just see if. Does anyone, if you want to talk about somebody else? Or something, something else? I'm sorry.
Talk about.
Beth, Kitty's here. Kitty's here. I can't talk about her.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to go? I'll take a break.
No, just if you have commission comments or anybody.
Oh,
from
there you
the
go.
Zoom.
I do.
Like, go ahead, John. Of course.
So with COVID under control and today's infection rate was 1.89 after a long weekend, and we could put 80,000 people in a football stadium to go watch a football game. I really think the commission should consider going back to a physical meeting with no hybrid, just go back to a meeting.
That's a meeting.
So I'm not looking for somebody to make a motion, but I certainly, in 2 weeks, if everything looks good, I certainly would try to push you all to going back to the GP room.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't do it for the meeting in 2 weeks because we've already made arrangements through the legal notice and everything to do it through Zoom. So our last meeting in October can't go that way.
But I want to start thinking about it because,
For November?
Right.
Well, I thought we were going to start doing it in December with the new board.
Oh, that's right.
I feel, and I'm only putting it up for discussion, I feel like we certainly are looking at COVID in a different place than we were 3 or 4 weeks ago. We've eliminated the mask in Bethel from our health department. I thought that was huge for her to come up with that, decision. I just want everybody to start thinking about it, because if everything stays good for 2 weeks, I would really want to consider as a commission to get back in a physical meeting, because I'm sure you all want to have cake for me before I leave. That
Well,
wasn't funny, Kitty. That
I
wasn't
second
funny.
that.
I would have to say that, since it's all about the cake, that you really should consider it.
Right. And remember, vanilla and vanilla frosting.
We could do pizza.
David, see if you could, see if I put that in the drive correctly, so we could just bring up an architectural quickly.
Okay. For.
I didn't even, I just transferred it from my email to the drive. I didn't put
Okay.
it in any, give it a label.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to refresh my page here.
And if by chance we can't, Beth, maybe you could email a copy of that application.
Oh, I'll send it to Rob. Yeah, no,
I'll send it
absolutely.
to everybody.
Well,
I think they'd
Oh,
like
I
to
got
see
it.
But I think he wanted to see it before he voted on an extension motion.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Is
See
this
what
what we're
I-
looking for?
It was still.
All right,
waiting for the
so
vote.
let's scroll through this. This is the clubhouse.
Yes.
It's exactly as it was approved. It's a 117 unit project. Just scroll through it, David, see what else I threw in there.
It was a site plan, so you could see the roadways and everything.
I don't
This
think,
seems to be just for the clubhouse, Beth.
okay, well, see what else there should be 2 files up there.
With the
Beth,
path.
I see SHF architectural permit set, and that's the only one that seems to have been put in there, unless there was put in another folder.
No, I just threw it up there. Okay,
Okay.
so it's not there. I'll have to email Rob a copy of
Get a
this.
chance, no big deal.
Okay,
A lot of
Okay, do
cupolas
we-
on that clubhouse.
a lot of what?
Are you,
So we have to vote on that motion still, please? On the
Right.
motion to extend.
hang on a second. Rob, are you comfortable with voting without seeing the site plan?
Oh, okay.
You know, it's an approved project and all we're doing is setting a new expiration date for an approved project.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Got it.
Yeah, and I'm fine.
Good.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead,
those in favor?
I,
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So we have that done. Okay. All right. So is that it, Beth?
That's it.
Okay, any further commission comments? You? Any public comments?
We have BJ with us.
Jay around here? There she is.
So if in the future you are going to go back to in-person meetings,
Right.
would you still be putting the documents up on the Google Drive?
From here on in,
Oh, yeah.
BJ, I would have to say that anytime there's a legal notice or anything going on, it will be on the front page of the website, just as it's appearing now. I think that shows the transparency of the board,
Right.
that you can sit at home instead of having to walk down to the town hall and look at any application or any activity that's going on with the Planning and Zoning Commission, at least 2 weeks prior to a public hearing.
I think BJ's question was in the guise of this being available on Google Drive.
It is.
Okay.
And it
There's
will,
always a link there, Penny, BJ.
but you will continue posting that even when you go back?
Absolutely,
Great.
Okay, that's all.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So that's it for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second?
second.
Penny made the motion. Rob Wallace seconded it. Good night,
Jolene,
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Jolene.
See you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Jolene. Take care.
Good night,
Night all.
everyone. Oh, and in 2 weeks, we're starting at 6:30.
Oh,